We tend to chase intelligence for very practical reasons. We want skills that translate to a paycheck, the ability to solve problems when others are stuck, and enough conversational authority to be respected without being labeled a nerd. When we say we want to get smarter, this is the utility we are looking for. The standard way to get there is a 16 to 22-year pipeline of formal schooling. But for many, that system ends not with mastery, but with a mountain of debt and a perfectly proofread Reddit post about the struggle to find a job. If you step outside the classroom and look for advice online, you hit a different wall. Most of the guidance is so vague and philosophical that the only people who could realistically follow it are Oprah and Socrates. Ancient wisdom has its place, but it offers little help when you need to master a modern technical skill or fix a piece of machinery. This leads many to settle for passive biohacks. Eat more blueberries, drink black coffee, optimize our sleep, and listen to classical music to sharpen our minds. While these habits are healthy, they are not the source of brilliance. History is full of geniuses who made massive breakthroughs while glued to a desk, scraping by on 4 hours of sleep and maintaining terrible physical habits. Intelligence is not a byproduct of lifestyle tweaks or academic longevity. It is the result of a mechanical process, the active acquisition and retention of knowledge. That process begins with reading. Fiction builds your vocabulary and empathy, but nonfiction is the primary source for hard data you can actually use. However, finding the right book is only the first step. You then have to contend with your brain's internal survival filter, which assumes any unpracticed information is useless and should be instantly forgotten. This graph shows the learning curve, plotting practice time against skill proficiency. Notice the steepness at the start. Focusing on the first 20% of essential knowledge results in 80% of practical mastery. Reaching that high level of proficiency in a short time requires physical execution. You cannot learn to tie a tie by merely watching a video. You only learn by holding the fabric and making the loops yourself. The same rule applies to reading. If you finish a chapter on deep cleaning a room, immediately go clean one. By doing the work, you force your brain to categorize that data as a survival necessity. Physical action is the most effective way to override the brain's deletion of passive information. There are times when immediate practice is impossible. If you are reading about how to jumpstart a car but lack 2 vehicles, you can't physically perform the steps. In these cases, you use mental simulation. By vividly imagining yourself in a high-stakes scenario, stranded on a highway, following each step, you trick your survival filter into holding on to the information. This artificial generation of high stakes is the logic behind the global school testing system. The system's flaw is that the stakes are temporary. Once an exam is over and the threat of failure vanishes, the brain identifies the information as no longer useful and deletes it. This is why the textbook remains a superior learning tool. It removes distractions and pairs pure information with immediate practice questions, creating the simulated stakes needed for retention on every page. True intelligence is built by those who can consistently manufacture a sense of utility for every new piece of information they consume. Having the knowledge is useless if the way you share it creates social friction. If a friend mentions that humans evolved from chimpanzees, and you immediately correct them by explaining that evolution is nonlinear and several human-like species coexisted, you are likely to be seen as an unlikable nerd. This social rejection negates the very respect and influence you were trying to achieve by becoming smarter. The solution is to use conversational humility. Instead of a direct correction, frame the information as a shared discovery, saying, "I used to think that too, but I was reading recently that we actually evolved side by side," allows others to learn without feeling belittled. Actionable intelligence is a 3-part life cycle: acquire targeted data, force retention through simulated stakes, and distribute that knowledge with enough social grace to be heard.